Marcus Reed's diner was hanging by a thread. Debt collectors circled like vultures. Neighbors mocked his failures, and still, he kept feeding anyone who came through his door. One night, with only a single plate left in the kitchen, he placed it in front of a shivering homeless man, ignoring the whispers that generosity had ruined him. Hours later, as officers arrived to shut the diner down, sleek black SUVs rolled to a stop outside, and from them stepped the very same man, now in a tailored suit so sharp made the whole street fall silent. Marcus's diner felt frozen in another time. The flickering neon sign buzzed faintly against the rain-soaked night, casting a weak glow over cracked red booths and empty tables. Inside, the air carried the smell of burnt coffee and grease, mixed with the damp chill that crept in each time the door opened. Behind the counter stood Marcus, shoulders heavy, wiping the same spot on the counter again and again. He wasn't cleaning, it was just a way to keep from staring at the stack of unpaid bills tucked away in the back office. People said Marcus's kindness was foolish. Maybe it was. But to him, every stranger who walked in with hunger in their eyes deserved a hot meal. He'd slide a plate across the counter without a word, whispering to himself, "If I can cook, they can eat." It wasn't charity, it was his way of surviving. That night, the door creaked open, and the soft jingle of the bell broke the silence. A man stepped inside, thin, soaked through, his coat clinging to him like wet paper. His beard was uneven, his eyes hollow, and his hands shook as though the cold had carved its way into his very bones. Marcus didn't pause. He waved toward the nearest booth. "Sit down, brother. You're freezing." The man shuffled forward without a word, carrying the faint smell of rain and the heavy weariness of someone who had slept too many nights on concrete. Marcus filled a mug with hot coffee, ladled a steaming bowl of chicken soup, and even slid over a couple of painkillers from the jar behind the counter. From a corner booth, two locals muttered just loud enough, "See, that's why he's broke." One scoffed. "Yeah," the other sneered. "He'll lose this place before winter ends, feeding every stray that wanders in." Marcus's jaw tightened, his eyes catching the two men's reflection in the chrome of the coffee machine. He didn't turn. Defending himself was useless. Let them think what they wanted. Instead, he kept his attention on the stranger. The man sipped slowly, his gaze locked on Marcus with an unsettling intensity. Every small movement, the way Marcus tucked the rag into his apron, the way he leaned forward with quiet concern, was studied as if it meant more than the meal itself. Marcus had no idea that look carried a weight far beyond idle gossip. Outside, the rain pressed harder against the windows, as though the night itself was marking the start of a chapter he didn't yet know was his. By morning, pale light spilled through the foggy diner windows, streaked with dust Marcus hadn't had time to wipe. A few regulars lingered, their voices carrying easily in the near-empty room. "Poor man's too soft," one muttered over his coffee. "Soft?" the other scoffed. "It's plain stupid, giving away food when he can't even pay his own rent." They laughed, shaking their heads as if Marcus were a story to be mocked instead of a man fighting to stay afloat. Marcus pretended not to hear. He moved calmly behind the counter, refilling salt shakers, straightening napkin holders, anything to keep his hands occupied. His apron was frayed. Sweat lined his brow despite the morning chill, but their words clung heavier than the stack of overdue bills waiting in the back office. By mid-afternoon, the bell over the door jingled again. The stranger had returned, same ragged coat, same quiet, deliberate steps. Marcus looked up from the grill and, without hesitation, nodded toward a booth. The man eased into the booth, every movement slow, like his body resisted even the smallest bend. "You again," Marcus said quietly, sliding a plate of eggs and toast in front of him. "Eat." No arguments. The man's hand trembled as he lifted the fork. He spoke little, almost nothing, but his eyes never left Marcus. They followed him across the diner as he wiped counters, greeted the rare customer, and checked the old clock above the door as though time itself was slipping too fast. But outside, word was spreading. Marcus's kindness wasn't seen as noble anymore. It was seen as weakness. Suppliers stopped answering his calls. A delivery truck never came. When he finally reached the driver, the reply was sharp: "Pay what you owe first." That evening, Marcus stepped outside with a trash bag. Two neighbors lingered under the lamppost. "Man's drowning himself," one muttered. "Don't pity him," the other replied. "He chose this life. You can't feed everyone." Marcus froze, their words heavy in his chest. For a moment, doubt flickered. Maybe they were right. But then he pictured the faces, the tired mothers, the hungry kids, the silent man inside eating, as though it was the first real meal in days, and the doubt passed like a shadow. Inside, the diner lights buzzed weakly. Marcus leaned on the counter, exhaustion carved into his face. He didn't notice the stranger's gaze soften, as if he saw something rare in that weariness. Still, the whispers grew. And still, Marcus showed up each day. The man kept coming back too, silent, steady, always watching. The week dragged like a rope stretched too thin. By Tuesday, Marcus was scraping together meals from scraps in his pantry. A half bag of rice, a few onions, a crate of bruised tomatoes he'd bought cheap from a sympathetic vendor. Each stir of the pot weighed heavier than the ledger in the back office. Thursday morning, the mail arrived. A thick envelope stamped in bold red. Marcus didn't need to open it to know, but he did. Foreclosure, unless he paid. The diner would be gone in days. That evening, the place was nearly silent. Just the hum of the fridge and the scrape of the stranger's spoon against a chipped bowl. This time, Marcus sat across from him. Two weary souls, side by side. The man ate slowly, his eyes fixed on Marcus. And for the first time, Marcus thought he might finally speak. But no words came, just that same steady, unreadable stare. The next morning, the end arrived. Two uniformed officers pushed through the diner's door, papers clutched tight. Behind them trailed a man in a gray suit with a clipboard, his sharp eyes scanning the room like a hawk circling prey. "Mr. Reed?" one officer asked. Marcus swallowed hard and nodded, his throat dry as sand. The words came in flat, official tones. The diner was being repossessed. He had until the end of the day to clear out. The few customers in the booths leaned close, their whispers slicing the air. Told you he wouldn't last. All that free food finally caught up to him. Marcus gripped the counter, so tight his knuckles turned white. He felt every gaze on his back, every word like a blade, but he stayed silent. What was there left to argue? Then, tires screeched softly against the curb. A convoy of black SUVs lined the street, engines humming low, pulling every eye to the window. Conversations died mid-sentence. Even the officers stiffened. The diner's door swung open. From the first SUV stepped the man who had shuffled into Marcus's diner night after night. Only now, the ragged coat was gone. In its place was a perfectly tailored suit, pressed sharp, gleaming in the morning sun. His beard was trimmed, his posture tall, his presence commanding. Behind him, assistants followed with folders and briefcases in hand. The diner froze. Forks hovered midair. Even the fridge's hum seemed to quiet. The man walked forward, each step deliberate, his gaze locked on Marcus. Marcus's chest rose and fell in shallow breaths, the truth forming in his mind. This man had never been what he seemed. The stranger stopped just a foot away. Marcus's rag slipped from his hand, falling soundlessly to the floor. For a long moment, the suited man studied Marcus's face. Then, with calm authority, he placed a thick folder on the counter. His voice was steady, commanding, enough to silence the room. "Mr. Reed," he said, "these are the deeds. This building, this diner, it's yours now. Every debt cleared, paid in full." Gasps swept through the diner. Customers stared wide-eyed, and even the officers shifted uneasily, suddenly unsure if their presence meant anything anymore. Marcus blinked, his head shaking slightly, as though refusing to believe. I don't understand." The man straightened, his voice steady and clear. "You gave me food when I had nothing. You never asked questions, never judged. You did it again and again, even when people warned you it would destroy you. I had to know if that was truly who you were, so I came here like this." He gestured toward the memory of his ragged disguise. "I tested you, and you passed in ways I never imagined." A murmur rippled through the room. Neighbors who had mocked Marcus only days before now looked down, shame burning their faces. The man continued, his words carrying weight. "I'm investing in this community, and I've been watching you longer than you realize. You're not just a diner owner, Marcus. You're the heartbeat of this place. Men like you don't deserve to sink. They deserve to rise." He slid the folder closer across the counter. "This diner is yours, free and clear, every debt erased. But I don't just want to save it. I want to expand it. New locations, your vision, spread wider. If you'll allow it, I'll stand behind you every step of the way." Marcus's throat tightened. His trembling hands hovered over the folder before pressing down on it, as if to ground himself in the reality that this was no dream. The whispers in the diner shifted, no longer mocking, but reverent. "Can you believe it? He was right all along. Kindness does come back." Tears welled in Marcus's eyes, though he fought to hold them back. Outside, The rain had stopped at last. Sunlight cut through the clouds, washing across the cracked neon sign above the door. For the first time in months, Marcus felt its warmth. His life had just been transformed in ways he could barely grasp. Yet one truth remained unchanged. When the doors opened tomorrow, anyone hungry would still find a seat at his table. Because in the end, it was kindness that had nearly cost him everything, and kindness that had saved him. Do you believe true generosity always finds its way back? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if this story touched you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us bring more stories that prove the power of compassion and integrity.